This is chapter 16. It's all about mortgages, which some of you may have one and others eventually, hopefully, you'll have one, or I guess, I don't know if hopefully, but I guess that means you'd be buying instead of renting. So a little cartoon for you there. Okay, so some vocabulary. A loan in which real property is used to secure the debt. That's the definition of a mortgage. The property that is held as security on a mortgage, so it's what you risk losing if you can't repay the loan. That would be your collateral, so what you're putting down. The difference between the expected selling price, so how much you're going to make when you sell it, and the balance you actually owe, that's your equity. So that's how much of the property you actually own is your equity in it. The expected selling price of a property is called the market value. And there's some different types of mortgages. There's the primary mortgage, it's called the first mortgage. A mortgage that is not insured by a government program would be a conventional mortgage. That's what a lot of people have. One in which the interest rate for the mortgage remains the same for the entire loan, that would be a fixed rate mortgage. And that's what you want to get, is a fixed rate mortgage, so that it's set at that rate, it doesn't change at all throughout the life of the loan. And this is one that a lot of people had when the market crashed and ended up losing their home because of this, adjustable rate mortgage. So the rate can go up or down depending on the market, which can be good or bad, and in most cases it's not a pleasant experience. So it's typically recommended by financial advisors that you do the fixed rate mortgage. Okay. So for mortgages, 15 and 30-year loans are the most common that you'll see. You could also see a 20-year, but typically it's 15 and 30. Usually people go for a 30-year mortgage because it's lower monthly payments. But you'll see in the activity that we're going to do with mortgages that you actually end up paying way more if you do 30 years than 15 years because of all the interest. Payments can be made monthly, which is usually how it is, or in a bi-weekly plan, so that'd be every other week. And since there are 52 weeks in a year, you end up paying 26 times. And so you're building your equity a little bit more quickly than the monthly plan. An equity line of credit or a second mortgage allows a homeowner to borrow against the equity in the home. So you can take out another mortgage against your mortgage, basically, or against the equity that you own. Okay, so there are a couple ways to figure out your monthly mortgage payment, which could come in handy if you're trying to figure out what price home you can afford. So you're going to take, so there's two ways. One is to use a table, one is to use the formula. The table, which is on this page, it's also in your book, table 16.1, you're going to take the amount you're financing. So if you remember from chapter 12, the amount financed is basically how much you're having to borrow. So if you take away the down payment, it's what you're left that you owe. And you're going to divide that by 1,000 and multiply by the table value. The reason you're dividing it by 1,000 is because if you look at this table, it's the monthly payment of principal and interest per $1,000 of amount financed. So you take your amount financed and divide it by 1,000 to use this table. Okay, and then you'll take that amount and you'll multiply it by whatever table value you got here. And the table value, so these are table values, all these numbers, are based on the years you finance. So usually it's 15 or 30 years, but it could be any of these numbers. And then this is your interest rate that you're getting annually. Okay, the other way to do it is to use this formula. So you're taking the principal amount. This is the interest rate, and this is the period interest rate. Again, it's right here, this is the total number of payments. Okay, so, for example, a home buyer is purchasing a house for $212,000. The bank has approved her loan application for a 30-year fixed-rate loan, good choice, at 6% annual interest. If she makes a 20% down payment, what is the monthly payment? Okay, so using the table, we're going to take the amount financed. Now, first we have to figure out the down payment because she's not going to have to finance the down payment. She's not going to have to pay that part back. So we're going to basically first need to find 20% of $212,000. And the way you find a percent of is you multiply this as a decimal times the 212,000. So when you do that, you get $42,400. So that's how much the home buyer put down on the house. So she doesn't need to pay that back. So that's not considered part of what she's financing. And if you look back at the formula for using this table, we need the amount financed. All right, so we're going to take that away from the $212,000 by subtracting it. So this is the amount that she's financing. That's how much she has to pay back. Okay, so to use the table, we're going to take that number and divide it by 1,000, which gives us 169.6. And then that number is going to get multiplied by the table value. So, to find the table value, we're going to remind ourselves we're doing a 30-year fixed rate at 6% annual interest. So, oops. We'll go back to the table. 30 years. Annual interest rate is 6. Oops, sorry. Annual interest rate is 6. 30 years. If you follow that over, the number also happens to be 6. And it's not because of the interest rate, it's because of the table number. So if the annual interest rate had been 6.5%, then your table number would be 6.32. Okay, so our number is 6.00. So that's what's going to go here, and it's going to get multiplied by that number we just found. So 169.6 times the 6. So that's going to give us $1,017.60. So that's going to be the monthly payment for a home that's $212,000. Now, if she doesn't put a 20% down payment, her payment is going to be much higher than that. So, and that is actually the recommended percentage that you put down, because otherwise you have to take out private mortgage insurance if you don't put 20% down on a house. That's why that's recommended. All right, now let's use the formula and let's see how that works. So same exact problem, but now we're going to use a formula instead of the table. So if you look back at the formula, there it is. Okay, we're going to use this one. The principal amount. So this is the amount that we're having to finance. So that was $169,600. Okay, I'm going to pull my calculator up here. Down here, we're going to have the 1 minus the 1 plus. Now, R is the period interest rate, so we're going to take the interest rate, and since the periods are monthly, we're going to divide it by the number of months. So this is going to be the 0.06, I believe it was. Yeah, 6% annual interest. So maybe I should write it here. Should cut it. Okay. So the principal is gonna be the $169,600, not the $212, because we have to remove the down payment, because we're figuring out the mortgage based on, what we have to pay back. Okay, the interest rate is going to be 0.06 divided by 12, because, this is the period interest rate, and our periods we're paying monthly. It's kinda like the compound interest formula, and this is also gonna be R over N. And N represents the total number of payments. So it's actually going to be N times T. It's the number of payments per month, or per year, times the number of years. So then down here, I've got 1 minus 1 plus the 0.06 divided by 12, all raised to the negative. Total number of payments, well, 30 years, and it's monthly, so 12 times a year, so it's 12 times 30. Alright, so then I will just put that into my calculator, and I'll show you how to put that in case you're curious. Some of you may have used Desmos in the past. It's a great tool if you're not familiar with this one. So 169,600 times, okay, I've got the 0.06 divided by 12, and then I'm going to highlight this because I'm going to put this whole thing divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12, and for divided by I just use the slash symbol, and that's to the, so I did the little caret symbol, but you could also use this button as well to put it up in the exponent. So this is negative 12 times 3. Oops, I want to keep that up here. So maybe we should put this in parentheses here. Let it, just do that. Get rid of this. Okay, and if you notice, your payment is $1,016.84. So 1,016.84. And that would be your monthly payment. Now compare that to what we got when we did the this one. We got about 1,017, and erased it for some reason. So you get a slightly different number, but it's very similar. Oh, there it is. So we had 1,017, and this time we got 1,016. So it'll be very close, which is fine. So you can either use the table or the formula. Okay, now let's say we want to find the interest. Now, to figure out the total interest, you're finding the finance charge like you did in chapter 12. You're going to take the number of payments, so let's say I have 360 payments, times the amount of the payment, so that's basically your mortgage payment each month, and you're going to subtract the amount that you finance. So you're going to subtract your down payment, or not your down payment, the amount you took out the loan for, sorry about that. So let's say you took out a loan for the $169,600. You'll basically take how much you ended up paying overall and subtract that amount. So, for example, let's use the previous example that we just used. A homebuyer's monthly payment of the principal and interest, we're using the table, what we got when we did the table, $1,017.60, and the buyer has a 30-year fixed mortgage. So for the total interest, we'll take the number of payments. Well, they're doing 30 payments, or 30 years, but 12 payments a year. So 30 times 12, so that's 360. And then this is the amount of the payment. And then the amount financed, remember that it was $169,600. So if you multiply all these and then subtract this, you get $196,736. So this is how much that was paid in just in interest. Look how crazy this is. This was how much you took out a loan for. You paid more in interest than the actual loan. So this is in addition to what the house was, what you financed. The house was only worth $212,000. You're paying almost as much as the house in interest alone for 30 years, for a 30-year loan, which is crazy. So let's see if a 15-year mortgage would have been a little bit better. So let's figure out how much interest you would have paid if you had taken out a 15-year mortgage instead. So first we need to calculate our monthly payments. It's going to be different for a 15-year mortgage than it was for 30 years. If you go back to the table, we'll use the table again. It was 15-year mortgage, and it was 6% interest rate, so the number is 8.44. So we're going to take, remember the 169,600 divided by 1,000. This is to use the table, and multiply it by the, was it 8.44? Sorry. 8.44, yeah. So we're taking the amount financed divided by 1,000 times the table value. All right, so if you do that, you get, let's see, I'm plugging into my calculator. You get $1,431.42. Okay, so remember, for the 30-year mortgage, it was only $1,017. So notice if you take out a 15-year mortgage, your monthly payment is going to be higher. That's why people tend to take out a 30-year instead of a 15-year, is because they want a lower monthly payment. But let's calculate the interest. So the interest, remember, is the number of payments. So the number of payments is, I'm paying for 15 years, 12 times a year. And then, oops, sorry, wrong way. That's going to get multiplied by the amount of the payment. So in this case, our payment amount is this number, the $1,431.42. And then I'm going to subtract the amount financed, which was the $169,600. Okay, if you do that, you get, let's plug that into my calculator, 15 times 12 times 1,431.42, and then I'm going to subtract the 169,600. I get $88,055.60. So I would be paying this much in interest for a 15-year mortgage, which is still a lot of money, right? $88,000 extra dollars just to take out a mortgage. But look at the significant difference. It was $196,736. So this is how much I pay in interest for 30 years. This is how much I pay in interest for 15 years. That's significantly different. So that's why it is better to pay it off faster. Pay less in interest. Okay, so some other costs when you're getting a mortgage. It's paid when the loan is made. There are points, there's attorney fees, sales commissions to your real estate agent, to their real estate agent, etc. Those are all considered closing costs. And sometimes you can negotiate for whoever's selling you the home to pay for the closing costs. A one-time payment to the lender that's made at closing, that is a percent of the total loan, is considered points. An account for holding the part of a monthly payment that's used to pay taxes and insurance is called escrow. So if you're confused as to what escrow is, at the closing of the mortgage, the borrowers are generally required to set aside a percentage of the yearly taxes to be held by the lender. And then on a monthly basis, the lender will also collect additional money to be used to pay the taxes on the home. So that account, that escrow account, is maintained by the lender, who's responsible for sending the tax bills on a regular basis. So they're basically setting it up so that the money is in the account, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, PITI, pity. That always makes you want to say, I pity the fool, but I was going to say I won't, but I already did. Okay, so PITI is basically your adjusted monthly payment that includes everything you're going to have to pay. So you're going to have to pay money on the principal of the home, on the interest. You're going to have taxes on your home. You're going to have insurance, homeowners insurance. So this takes into account everything you have to pay for the month. So the monthly mortgage payment the borrower will make will include all four of those elements. Just for those of you who live in Arizona, these are some of the property taxes in Arizona in case you're curious. So you'll notice Maricopa County is where we're at. The property tax rate is 0.81%. The highest property tax rate in this area is Pinal County, which if you're familiar with like Apache Junction and that area, that's Pinal County. I think Florence. And then the lowest looks like Greenlee County, which I'm not sure where that is. All right. For those of you who don't live in Arizona, if you're curious about property tax nationwide, the lowest property tax is actually in Hawaii. So these are the lowest states for property tax. The highest is New Jersey, followed by Illinois and some others. Okay. As you recall, our home buyer has a monthly payment, so I'm going to use that same example, of principal and interest of $1,017.60. This is if they did the 30-year mortgage. Let's say her annual insurance premium is $960. So annual means yearly, so every year she has to pay $960 for homeowners insurance. And then her property taxes for the year are $1,985. So sometimes people will move into different cities because the property taxes are a little lower. I've heard some friends say that they want to move to the city of Mesa versus Scottsdale because property taxes are lower. So find the adjusted monthly payment that includes all four of these elements. So we're going to figure out our monthly costs. We've got this monthly rate, and then we have these two things we also have to pay, but these are yearly, right? So if I add these together, $960 plus $1,985, that's going to give me $2,945. Now, that's for the year. Well, this was for the month, right? This was every month. So I'm trying to figure out my monthly payment. So I need to divide this by 12, which is what this is doing right here, to figure out my monthly, the amount I should pay monthly for these things. So if you divide that by 12, you get $245.42. So that means monthly I'm paying this amount to cover my yearly taxes and insurance. So this is what I'm paying for the home. This is what I'm paying in taxes and insurance every month. If I add those together, I get $1,263.02. So that's really what you're paying every month. So though your mortgage just says $1,017.60, that's not all you're going to be paying that month. So you need to consider that when buying a home, that you're probably going to end up paying more than what the monthly mortgage says. So make sure you get a mortgage, a monthly payment that is lower than what you would expect it to be, or lower than you, like at the low end of your price range, so that you're not going above and beyond your means. Okay, so that would be the pity payment. Okay, an amortization table is a data table that shows the process of paying off a loan with details for every payment. So sometimes people will do this so that they can see the progress of what they've paid towards the principal and what they've paid towards the interest. It's kind of a way of organizing that data. So for each month, an amortization table provides your loan balance, the interest charges on your loan, and the amount of the principal that you pay off. So let's take a look at one because I think it will help you understand how a loan works. And then people will use this to predict their balance or their interest cost at any given time in the future. So if they want to know in 13 years what their interest payment is going to be, they can calculate that from an amortization table. Okay, so for the first month, you first need to calculate the monthly mortgage payment. So once you get the monthly mortgage payment, you can use that for every month, but that's the first thing you have to do. And then for each month, from the first month on, you're going to find the interest portion of the monthly payment. So you're going to take the previous end of month principal. So at the beginning, it's just going to be the principal, which is the amount that you have to pay towards the house. But once you've paid a little bit towards the principal, then every month, the amount you owe on the principal goes down a little bit. So that's why it says the previous end of month principal. So what you still have left on the principal, and you're going to multiply that by the monthly interest rate. Okay, then you'll find the principal portion, of what you paid by taking the monthly payment and subtracting the interest portion. And then you'll find your new end of month principal by taking the previous end of month principal and subtracting the principal portion of your monthly payment. Okay, that might sound like gibberish, so let me show you an example. Okay, so this is kind of what the table would look like. You have month one, your monthly payment, the amount of that monthly payment that's going towards interest, and the amount that's going towards the principal, and then your end of month principal. So, Billy Bobby Brooks, isn't that a great name, is buying a home for $198,500 with a 20% down payment. He has a 5.75% loan for 25 years. Create an amortization schedule for the first 2 months of his loan. Okay, so the first thing you need to figure out is his monthly payment. And that's doing what we've already done before, but we'll use some new values. So I'm going to use the table if I can. Now you won't always be able to use the table because maybe the interest rate doesn't show up on there, but if I look at my interest rate was 5.75%, and my table has that, 5.75%, and it's for 25 years. So the number for 25 years, 5.75%, I'm going to grab that now so I don't need it in the future, is 6.29. And then I'm going to use this formula to calculate my monthly mortgage payment. So table value is 6.29. All right. So now hopefully we won't need the table again. Sorry about that. Okay. So, first thing I need to do is figure out how much I'm financing, because remember the formula is the amount financed divided by 1,000 times the table number. So 20% of $198,500 is what I'm putting down. So you can do a couple things. You can either do 20% of this, and that gives you, let's see, 198,500 times 0.2, because that's 20% as a decimal. That gives you $39,700. That's what you don't have to pay back, right? Because that's your down payment. You're just giving them that money. So I'm going to subtract the $39,700, and that gives me this $158,800. Now you'll notice on the slide, it's done a little differently. Instead of multiplying by 20% and then subtracting it, another option you have, if you're going to be taking away 20%, that means you're left with 80% of the original, correct? You can't, right? So 80, I could basically just find 80% of this number, and then I don't have to worry about subtracting anything. So 80% of this is also $158,800. So you can do it either way, whatever's more comfortable for you. Okay, so now to find the monthly mortgage payment, I'm going to take this number, that's the amount financed, and divide it by 1,000, which gives you 158.8. That's this portion of the formula. And then I'm going to multiply it by the table number, which was 6.29. And that's going to give me $998.85. So every month, that's the payment that Billy Bobby Brooks is making on his home. Okay, so for the first month, remember this, I need the monthly payment, so that's just going to be $998. Oops, what was that answer? $998.85. Now it's actually going to be $998.85 every month. So if you did this for month 3 as well, monthly payment's going to be the same every single month. Okay, so now I need to figure out how much of this $998.85 went towards interest, and then how much of it went towards principal. And it's either going to go towards interest or principal. So whatever didn't go towards interest is going towards the principal. Now the sad part is when you first start paying off your home, most of your money is going to go towards interest. And then eventually it switches, but for now, it's a lot. All right, so the end of month principal is going to come after I subtract, but we'll get to that. So I need to figure out how much of that payment is in interest. Well, remember your interest rate was 5.75%. But that was an annual interest rate. They usually give you the annual interest rate. So I need to first figure out the monthly interest rate. So to do that, I'm going to take my 0.0575 and divide it by 12. That gives me the monthly interest rate. Okay, so that's the amount of interest I'm paying. So then I'm going to multiply that by the amount that I financed, the amount I owe back on the house, to figure out the amount of interest. So that means the amount of interest in my payment is $760.92. So of this $998.85, 760 of it is going towards interest alone. Isn't that sad? Not even towards the actual home, towards interest. So then to figure out the principal, you're going to take the monthly payment minus the interest. That's going to give you the principal. So if you subtract these two numbers, you get $237.93. So what was it? $237.93. So that's how much is going towards the principal. So the end of month principal, well, $237 towards my principal can be taken off, because now I've paid that much of my principal off. So remember, the principal amount was this amount I got after I took off the down payment. So $158,800. So that was the principal, that was the original amount I needed to pay back. I have now paid off $237. So this, I'm gonna take the $158,800 and I'm gonna subtract the $237.93. Okay, and if you do that, that's on this slide as well, you get $158,562.07. Doesn't even seem like you made much of a dent, right? You still owe that a ton of money. But slowly over time, it's going to start dwindling, and eventually you'll end up paying more in principal than in interest. It's just at the beginning of the loan, you'll end up paying more in interest than in principal. So $158,562. .07. So that's the end of month principal. Okay, so now for the next month, you're going to do the same thing. Only the interest is going to change. Everything is going to change except the monthly payment, but you're going to do the same process. So to figure out the interest, remember that's the 0.0575 interest rate divided by 12, because I'm doing that every month. Now, instead of multiplying it by this 158, I'm going to multiply it by the new amount that I owe on my principal. I've taken off $237, so I now only owe this $158,562. So that's what I'm going to multiply it by now. All right, and if you multiply those together, let's see here, 158,562.07 times 0.0575 divided by 12 gives you 759.78. So this month, a little less of it's going towards interest, right? Not much, but a little bit. So now to figure out the principal that I owe, I'm going to subtract the $998.85 and the $759.78. That gives me $239.07 is going towards the principal. So now a couple more dollars is going towards principal. Then to figure out my end of month principal, I'll take my previous end of month principal, so the $158,562, and I'll subtract this $239.07 to see how much I now have left that I have to pay back. So that gives me $158,323. Okay, let's go ahead and do the third month as well, just so that we can make sure we got this down. Okay, so to figure out the interest, I'm going to do the same thing I did here. I'm going to write this down here. I'm going to divide that by 12 because it was monthly. So you'll normally divide it by 12 because most housing payments are monthly. It's rare to find one that's not. Okay, and then we'll multiply that by the last month's principal, so $158,323. Okay, let's put this in here. 158,323, and I get $758.63. So that's now how much is going towards interest. So notice the interest will keep going down, the principal will keep going up. Okay, so now if I subtract those two numbers, the $998.85 and $758.63, I get $240.22 that's going towards the principal. And now I can subtract that from last month's. So that gives me, let's see here, $158,082.78. So you could keep doing this for month after month after month, to figure out when you're gonna owe a certain amount on your mortgage. Alright, and I believe that is the end of our slideshow, yep. So, if you have any questions, as always, you can contact me, and I'm happy to help. Have a good day.